Welcome to Art of Wellness Unscripted, the podcast where we dive deep into holistic health, real conversations, and the journey to living your best, most vibrant life. I'm your host, Amara Tiller, and each week we'll explore the art and science of wellness with inspiring guests, expert insights, and practical tips you can use every day. Today I have two new guests with us. We have Gavin and Gracie. You guys introduce yourself?
I'll go first. I'm Gavin. I am a fitness coach. I have my own business called Markmanperformancelabs where we do online coaching. And I also do in-person coaching over at M43 in DeWitt.
Nice.
And I'm Gracie Perot. I'm the owner of Glow by Gracie, as well as an office assistant over at Okemos Family Chiropractic, and also an influencer on Instagram.
Nice. Welcome. Let's see. Could you both, well, we did that. Let's see. Oh, what led you down your career paths?
So my career path was a little bit of a big shift for me. So my story is I kind of grew up in not very financially well household, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was always really good at like the math and science, and I was told to pursue an engineering degree, just because I liked how it challenged me, and you have the setup job lined up after that. But I truly just fell in love with my own process and my journey of switching from all the processed foods and stuff and working on myself. And so that's been my biggest passion for like the past 6 to 7 years. It wasn't until I met Gracie to where she kind of opened me up to more of like an entrepreneurial based background.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that, school, I liked how the way it challenged me, but it wasn't really what I wanted to see myself doing the rest of my life. And like the big question was, well, what did you do if you win the lottery? Well, I would buy and operate my own gym.
Yeah.
And so Gracie was a big challenge to kind of get rid of that financial stress of me and find a way to really enjoy what I'm doing as well as help people. And, with that is when like being financially okay comes with that. So that has kind of been my journey of why I chose to do this. So my own personal journey, as well as explaining like the challenges of how sometimes this can be hard, but like if it's what you're supposed to be doing in your life, like it's really good for you.
Absolutely.
And for me, I started my career path actually very young. At the age of 12, I started my first events business. And so, like Gavin said, I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. And so I really just have such a passion for the community. And so I know that like whatever I end up like officially doing, because I feel like I've switched my career path a lot, but ultimately my heart is just to serve the community. And so through Glow by Gracie, it has been like an amazing outlet for that to serve other people and share confidence. And yeah, so that's kind of how I started.
I love that. Gavin, what's the biggest misconception people have about working out?
Good question. So I like to say that the fitness industry is full of a lot of like, it's so big. It's full of a lot of nonsense. There's a lot of people just posting stuff for clicks, and honestly, there's so much information out there that kind of can be a lot or confusing. I would say really good advice that I would give to people, just general wellness or general population people, is understanding that your goals and your end goal that you want to achieve is something that is going to take time. I feel like that's a really good lesson to let people understand, because if you go in thinking that, okay, I'm going to hit this really hard for like a week and I'm going to lose like 6 pounds. And if you don't, I feel like it's the human nature to kind of like be like, oh, well, what's the heck's even the point in doing this?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the idea that like being consistent and being steady is going to get you to your long-term results. It might be something that takes like 6 months or even a year, but it's going to be worth all that, because in the end, you're going to have the longevity and everything that you've always wanted. So patience. And I'm someone who struggles with patience. And so this whole industry has kind of really showed me just how much taking your time and being thoughtful on what you're doing kind of takes you a very long way.
That. For women specifically, what should they focus on to feel strong and confident in the gym?
Great question. So I feel like there's a lot of misconception when it comes to like weightlifting in women.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I feel like when women think about weightlifting or lifting really heavy, they get the idea of, oh, I'm going to have these broad shoulders. Oh, I don't want to look like a man,
Mm-hmm.
and all this stuff. And realistically, I want to be here to kind of tell everybody that it's really hard as a woman to get the really broad shoulders, to get the really big traps and the big arms. The only way that's possible is if, someone's taking something like a TRT or some sort of enhancement, or you're truly eating like an insane amount on top of lifting that super heavy weight. So my biggest advice is for women to not be afraid of the weights or body, not really bodybuilding, but like weight training, like doing heavy foundational movements, like, a hip thrust, even like a bench press with dumbbells. Like all that stuff is going to be really good for your longevity, which is like your muscle building. Another thing I really like to talk about is like the conception of toning, just because that actually is not a real thing. It was a marketed thing to help get women into the gym or into personal training. Be like, oh, we have a tone thing, but really all it is losing body fat percentage and just gaining muscle. And so if you eat the way you normally do, but add some heavyweight training on top of that, you're going to get that tone look per se that I feel like a lot of women and stuff really want to go for.
Nice. I need this podcast because that's my missing link to my health is I need to get in the gym. How
Gab's here to help you do that.
Yeah.
Help everybody do that for sure.
I figured I'd have that impact from you guys. For men, what's one secret or overlooked tip that can really change their results?
This is a really good question, just because I feel like in general, like the whole lifting industry, it's for everybody, but I feel like it kind of grabs men's attention a little bit quicker. I would say the biggest thing for men is to have an external why or an external motivation to why you want to do this. And for an example, when those bad days come in and you don't really feel like doing it or really want to go in, those are the days that are still important to come in. Now, if you're doing it just for yourself, like, ooh, I want to look good or something like that, that's only going to get you so far. But if you have an external source of motivation, for example, if you have kids and you want to be able to play with them be able to keep up with them and play with them for a long time, or the goal is that longevity, or maybe you have to take care of your mom or your dad or something like that, and being able to keep up with them and be able to be on your feet, that external motivation is going to take you farther when you have those bad days, when you have those days where you wake up and maybe you didn't get sleep and you didn't eat well and you're like, I don't want to today. Having that other thing to kind of push you and get you in there is I would say is a really good thing for men to have.
How do you help clients stay consistent when motivation fades?
Motivation is I would say it's one of the most important things to build consistency. So both motivation and consistency are the biggest things. Like if you get into a habit of doing something over and over, it's going to become part of your schedule, where if you don't do it, you're going to feel weird. You're going to feel off, right? If you don't go to the gym or you don't do some wellness thing that you're doing. And the biggest way to get to that, I would say on my part as a trainer, is to kind of make that session that we have together enjoyable, right? Because people could come into me, they have their day to day, maybe they're struggling with something. You kind of tell like, they're a little bit down. Emotions are very contagious. And so if I can make you kind of shift to be like in an upbeat spirit or in a like really good mindset, like by the end of that session, everyone always comes out in a better place because their endorphins are flowing and all that stuff. Now, the other thing that they could focus on, that's kind of like what I do, is, help motivate you, help you uplift you in a way, is to focus on the small wins. Really, like if you're seeing great progress on a certain lift, like you're got a PR that day, right? That's a small win. Reward you, like sit in that for a second, like congratulate yourself with that. Maybe you've lost 1.5 pounds that week or 2 pounds. Awesome. Like congratulate yourself with that, because those little wins are going to stack up like a stair step, and eventually you keep on rewarding yourself. You're going to get to that top point, because the gym is a lot of up and downs. It really is. There's a lot of downs. There's a lot of plateaus, kind of getting stuck. But to get you through that is to congratulate yourself with the things that you're currently doing really well. And then with that, as you keep on going with it, you're going to get to that end point.
So are you only using nutrition, or do you take any like supplements to help support your body with working out?
I do a little bit of everything. Okay. So it's a big umbrella. I wish it was just like working out and that was it, but really it's a lot of stuff. So I would say nutrition is a really big lifestyle change as well as a supplementation. I would say nutrition is more important than supplementation, just because that's something that affects you every single day. I mean, you eat 3 meals a day, you're eating all the time, make sure it's the high quality stuff. supplementation, I like to think of it as a little bit of a bump or a little bit of a help if you are struggling with some certain things. So yes, for me, I do both. I do take my daily supplements as well as making sure I'm getting nutritious food along with everything else that I do.
I've been seeing a lot lately about like creatine and
Yes,
studies
I'm so
behind
glad
it.
that you
And
brought this up.
now I'm like, I actually was like, well, because I don't want to do the powder. I'm like, well, I could just fill a bunch of capsules. And then I learned how much creatine you need. And
Yeah,
that's way too many capsules you'd have to take.
I would
But
say for people getting started, like the traditional 5 grams is really good. There's creatine HCl and creatine monohydrate. The difference is the HCl is a salt base, so it kind of gets in the bloodstream way quicker.
okay.
The monohydrate is by far the most studied and the most used supplement, so that's the one I recommend for everybody. You literally just take it every single day, even on days that you don't work out. Like it's not just a workout thing. Yep, and it stays in your bloodstream and in your system. There's this thing called loading on every single creatine like tub. If you look at the back of it, that's a complete hoax. They like want you to take 20 grams the first 4 days so it gets into your system faster.
Oh.
Just take the 5. Like it'll take maybe 2 days longer, but it'll still work out. At the end of the day, you're saving creatine on that. But the creatine for your overall like muscle health and recovery and energy, like being able to do more reps, is insane. And there's a lot more extra studies on the benefits of cognitive health and your overall brain health. So I love that this is becoming a big keyword for everybody. It is by far the supplement that I recommend everybody, no matter what, to take. And just make sure you're drinking water. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I heard about a study they did where they compared somebody who got like barely any sleep, like I think almost no sleep, who took creatine, compared to somebody who got a complete full night's rest, and the person who had creatine with no sleep had better cognitive abilities than someone who had a full night's rest.
It really helps with like your brain fog.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, who knows if like that's like if you're getting no sleep for like a week straight, but like on those days, like taking some creatine will definitely help with that brain fog and kind of that like slumness, I guess, feeling that you have.
We all need help with that.
It's a really awesome supplement.
Especially as girls.
Yes.
Yes. Creatine for women is just as important as creatine for men. There's really like for everybody. Yep.
I need to start it. I think I saw Hannah Corey.
Oh yeah, she's big into it.
Yeah, I'm like,
she takes the gummy version, which I don't know what your opinion is.
I mean, is the powders just there's might be extra sugars and stuff in the gummies, but at the end of the day, if that's how you're gonna stay consistent and take it, awesome, do it. As long as you're getting 5 grams in, like get the supplement in there.
Nice. Shout out Corey's.
Yes. Cute.
I miss them.
How about, what does your recommended diet or approach to eating look like?
I would say the biggest tip to help with people when it comes to their nutrition is going to be thinking like kind of like a brain shift of how you look at food. So looking at food as fuel rather than looking at food as like an emotion helper or eating for emotion or eating for flavor. Right? Eating for fuel is a way better way to look at it because it's going to make you think about, okay, what's going into my body? Is this something that's going to fuel me the correct way? You know, help me build muscle when it comes to the protein, help me feel energized when it comes to the carbs. Is it going to regulate my hormones when it comes to the fats? If you can really get into that mindset when you're choosing what to eat, that's a really big helper because then you're not going to want to reach for those chips that are in your cabinet or the fast food that takes 2 seconds to drive to and just get it. That'd be my biggest advice is to think of food as fuel like gas for a car, like food for your body is what's going to make you run and make you more efficient.
Absolutely. With this one, do you believe in tracking calories or macros, or do you prefer a more intuitive approach?
Yeah, I love macro counting. Okay. Love calorie counting. If you want to get your nutrition right, but don't like diets, because I hate the term diet because I feel like it has a bad rep behind it, macro counting and calorie counting is going to be huge. And why that's so big is because if you don't know how many calories you're intaking in the day, how do you even know if you're in a calorie deficit? So if your goal is to lose weight, you need to eat less calories than what you're currently burning on your day-to-day. And some people hear this and they're like, okay, I'm not going to count. I'm just going to eat one meal or I'm going to skip breakfast. Let me just have one meal in the day, a couple snacks. And obviously I should be eating less. But at the same time, if you're not tracking that, how do you know for sure? Right. Like it is really important. If your goals, if you want to be able to achieve your goals on a healthy pace and be able to get to where you want to go, is calorie counting is going to be by far the way to do it. And the reason why is because you don't have to restrict yourself so much, because as long as you hit your grams of protein, grams of carbs, grams of fat, and calories in the day, truly you can eat whatever you want. Now, as like the nutritionist me, I'm going to be like, please be whole foods. But like, if that's how you're going to be able to see your success, if that's what's going to be easiest for you, then do that. Like, count it. And I even tell people, like, I will track the creamer that I put into my coffee, because that has calories, that has stuff. So the tiny little things. And once you truly get used to like using MyFitnessPal or a calorie counting app, I would say the first week's the tough part because you're new to it. But once you get into a schedule, it's becomes second nature, and it can actually be pretty fast.
I'm sure the listeners know when you say counting calories, they know what that means, but can you explain counting macros?
Yes. So macronutrients are going to be your protein, your carbs, and your fat. So I'm just going to give everybody tips right now. If your goal is to, which everybody is to lose weight and to gain some muscle or toning, right? Because muscle is the best indicator of longevity. If you have a lot of muscle on you when you're like 70, 60, I mean, those are the older people that you see that are walking around healthy and who aren't, on the wheelie carts at Walmart getting around everywhere. So the best way to do that is you just be counting your grams of protein, your grams of carbs, and your grams of fat. Now, how much of that? I could talk about this all day. But normally about 40% of your calorie intake, you want it to be from your protein. Protein works very well with satiety, like very satiating. So you feel fuller longer, takes longer to digest, and actually slows digestion. So you feel more satisfied longer too. That way you don't have as much cravings. Carbs is going to be really good for about 25% of your calorie intake is going to be from carbs. I hate that people are so afraid of carbs. They're honestly really good for energy, right? If you cut out carbs, you're going to lose weight like that. But also once you get back onto it, you're going to gain weight like that. And carbs are really good, so you have sustained energy throughout the day as well, because it's kind of like your quick energy. I mean, if you cut carbs out, you're going to feel sluggish. You're going to have that brain fog and stuff like that. And then your fat should be about 30 to 35% of your calorie intake, just because that's going to help with hormone regulation. If you're struggling with your hormones, people are also scared of fat just because of the name of fat. Yeah. But there's healthy fats like avocados, egg yolks are really good, unsalted nuts. All those are really, really good fats to get in instead of like your processed, your saturated, unsaturated, all this nasty stuff. But people who struggle with their hormones, maybe they're not getting enough fat content in their day, and they're getting most of their calories from carbs. So having a good kind of whole of all of that is going to be really important. And there's so many different ways you can track also. So like I said, I could talk about this forever, but there's this thing called BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. This is how many calories you would burn if you sit down and do nothing for 24 hours. You can get your BMR as simple as just finding a calculator online. You just put in your information, it'll give it to you. From that, I would multiply how active you are in a week. So if you're only like working out 1 to 2 times a day, I would do a 1.25 multiplier. If you're pretty active, like for myself, I work out 6 days a week. I'll even consider myself moderately active. I'll do a 1.55 multiplier. So whatever my BMR is, multiply those multipliers. Then if the goal is to lose weight, which most people are, you want to be in a calorie deficit. So I would just subtract 500 from whatever that final number is. That's your daily calories. And then from that, you just do 40% of calories. That's your calories from protein, 25%. That's your calories from carbs, and 30% that's your calories from fats. And there you go. Just write down everything you eat, look at the nutrient labels, and go from there. And you can probably find a calculator that turns the calories into grams too, so it's really easy. That way you can just look at a nutrient label and add it all together. It sounds like a lot, but trust me, like once you get into the swing of it, after like a week, like give yourself some grace. Like I don't want people doing this and they're like, oh, I can't do it, it's too hard. Like understand it might take like a week or two to get used to it. And then once you have it, if you find a day that you hit all those really well, I would just repeat that day over and over. And you can kind of change like the seasonings or how you make things taste to still bring that variety into your daily life. Nice. I'm such a nutrition like nerd. Like it's so fascinating to me. I could go on and on all about nutrition, honestly.
In my naturopathic program, the head doctor of the school, when I walked into the class, the first thing she says to me is, "You need a fat bomb. You need to make fat bombs and you need to eat them." I'm like, Okay. But yeah, we learned about healthy fats
Mm-hmm.
and good quality fats, and it's like the opposite of what we've been told our whole
Yes,
life.
no, really,
Yeah.
it's weird. Like you'll have women who are skipping their periods and all this nasty hormone
Yes.
stuff because one, they're if you get too lean, you'll skip your period. First off, fats like fat in your body is good to an extent, but also they're not eating enough fats because they're afraid, or that word fat is just
Yeah.
so scary that that's what you've been taught through your whole life. That you realize, like, oh my goodness, my hormones are what's setting me back. Okay, let's introduce some more fats into my diet, and then watch the magic of nutrition happen right there.
Absolutely. Gracie.
How do people get a hold of you?
Yeah.
So,
Work with you.
if you want to work with me, you could. I have a website called Markmanperformancelabs.com. On there, we'll have my email, and as well as some of the packages I have for online clients. Maybe you're not in the Lansing area and you want to get started. I'll do everything from doing all your macros and all that stuff I talked about earlier for you. I'll give you a nutrition plan, as well as based on your goals, what we chat about, a specific goal, specific workout plan that would work for you. If you want to do in-person training with me, you could find my email there as well. There's like a little link that goes to my Calendly or my booking schedule. First consultation is absolutely completely free. We'll basically just do a quick 30-minute workout to try out the gym. We'll chat a little bit about your goals, what you want to achieve, and then we'll actually do a free Hume scan, which is like body fat percentage, muscle percentage, all this crazy metrics. So I can kind of show you what I want to work on with you. And from that, I do get your BMR, so it makes all the calorie stuff easier too. So if you just book on that session, then I'll see that you're there. I'll contact you, and then we'll get started on your free session, and then we'll talk about plans in the future.
Love that. Also, side note, if you guys could send me links to whatever websites or anything, I'll make sure they're included in the description for the podcast on YouTube. That way they can just click and get linked up to you.
Make it easy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Gracie.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
I'll just be away a little bit.
I'd still be in it because I was in yours.
So you grew up homeschooled with a father who's a chiropractor. What was the experience like, and how did it shape your view of health and wellness?
Man, I like to say that I was super privileged, obviously, to grow up in a household being homeschooled. And I think it was a really huge blessing to have a father that had the approach of let's try the natural route first and foremost. And I think that just brought a whole level of awareness, not only to our, my dad and my mom who have 8 kids, but also to my mom's side of the family. I mean, they have 9 kids on their side, as well as chiropractors, and I mean, just a whole generation of people. So my dad choosing the natural healthcare route has now impacted not only our family, but also the generations outside of our family as well, which is just a huge blessing too, and to the greater Lansing community. So
I love that. Isn't that really everyone's goal in life, is to have an impact like that?
yeah.
Absolutely. What did competing in beauty pageants teach you about confidence, discipline, and self-care?
It's a great question. I think I just competed for the first time last year in April, and I had no clue, honestly, what I was signing up for. I just kind of went for it, and I was like, I'm gonna do this thing. I've been a yes girl since
I love that.
Since I was 12 years old, literally just say yes, and the Lord uses our yes. And so I think that with the Miss Michigan pageant reached out to me and was like, hey, I think we could use your story and you could share it on stage. And I was like, wait, I'm literally just signing up for this, not knowing what I'm doing, not knowing any girls. But actually, a really divine thing actually happened right before the pageant, 2 to 3 days before. The same girl that was competing with me, you guys will know her now as Miss USA, Alma Cooper.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Showed up to my salon, literally walked in the door, and she was like, I'm competing in Miss, well, I asked her what she's getting spray tan for, and she said that she was getting a spray tan for the Miss Michigan pageant. And so it was just such a crazy experience that I also had her as well alongside of me, to walk the stage and to kind of show me the ropes, because I had never done this before, whereas most of the girls there have been doing this their entire lives, and they've devoted their lives to it. And so I think to tie that all back to kind of confidence. And I mean, I definitely had nerves. I think like going on the stage and being like live streamed in front of a bunch of people is kind of crazy, but it was also really just impactful and inspiring. I think the girls there that I got to meet and the connections that I got to meet there was really amazing. And even just getting to connect with Elma now and just seeing what she gets to do and have an impact on Stanford University, as well as make an impact with Chicago and like the marathon she's been running and stuff like that too. So
I love that. Well, tell us about your business, Glow by Gracie. How did the idea come about, and what sets it apart from other spray tan businesses?
Ooh. Yeah, so Glow by Gracie came about, was birthed in Lynchburg, Virginia, which is where I was going to school.
Oh, wow.
At Liberty University, and in the middle of the Blue Ridge Mountains. I actually connected with a girl that markets for chiropractors, and as her side hustle, she did spray tans. Well, I walked in, I got my first airbrush spray tan, and like my life was forever changed. I like looked down at my skin and I was like, what the heck? I'm 4 shades darker right now. This is the coolest thing ever. Because I've always felt a little bit more pale. Like, I don't know, just naturally, like I wouldn't get that dark of a tan. I was always like frustrated by that. And so yeah, I got my first airbrush spray tan, and just the flawless results that it brought. I was just like, this is seamless. It's so easy, like 5 to 10 minutes, I'm in and out, and I'm a new girl basically. No, I'm not like it, but I was like, oh my gosh, like the confidence that I feel right now is just amazing. And like that was super contagious. So actually she right then and there handed her salon over to me and was like, here, you have the whole thing. Do your spray tan, do your teeth whitening, like do your thing. And so then from there I kind of built up my business from there. So started it there and then migrated it back to Michigan and have been now here for 3 years. So
I love that. Yeah, I used to be a huge spray tan like fan, but I would go to where they have like a booth.
Yeah.
And I have memories of moments where all of a sudden the thing glitched and I'm like halfway into it.
Oh gosh,
and like part of me didn't get sprayed. And I'm like, I come out, I'm like, hi, and I'm explaining what happened. They're like, well, we could do it again. But I'm like, okay, so now I have different layers.
Yeah, we're all guilty of that. I think I used to go to like, before I went to Liberty, I went in the machines at Crunch and like it completely to like botch the side of my forearm. Like it was awful. And you could tell that it was like a machine spray tan versus the airbrush tan. You know, we can customize it not only to your skin tone, but then also like on the different parts of the body. I mean, you know, even down to like, I was going to say like chest size, sorry. But like, you know, you have to get in the creases and the crevices. Sorry, Gavin, plug your ears. But yeah, so just making sure we're blending out like all of those areas on the body and stuff, just to make sure it's a seamless tan and there isn't like a flap that's white. Maybe you can cut that part out. I'm a little unscripted, if we will. Well, that's the whole point here.
The whole vibe here.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening, if you're in the Lansing, Okemos area and you need a spray tan, look up Glow by Gracie and go get yourself a spray tan and get an instant confidence boost.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I can just have Amara be my spokesperson here. So,
hey, whatever you need. Let's see, what challenges have you faced as a young entrepreneur and how did you overcome them?
I would say the biggest challenge that I've faced, I think, is just from a young age. I mean, I think everything that you start is a learning lesson. And so for me, I wouldn't necessarily look at some of the businesses that I've started as failures, but they were just kind of hurdles that got me to where I am now. And so I think it was really in those valley seasons of like, okay, now my online clothing store isn't doing very well. Well, I'm also looking at, you know, going to business school, you know, how am I going to close the shop down and move 10 hours away? And so I think I learned a lot through just kind of failing forward and having that ability to like say yes, like I said, and then also being willing to like not necessarily fail, but just to kind of overcome some of those like initial hurdles in business and not be like afraid to just go for it.
Yeah, I love that. Side note, out of anyone I've ever like talked to about you, everyone has the same opinion. They're just like wowed of how young you are and like how put together you are. And
oh shucks,
you guys doing a great job, girl.
Well, you guys don't seem to be behind the scenes, but I think yeah, it's definitely been a huge blessing getting to meet a lot of really cool people come through my doors. I mean, each and every day I believe is like a divine appointment. I'm like, wow, like person after person that I get to meet, and just the community here in Greater Lansing and the people that are reaching out and wanting to help, like that collaboration piece I'm just so big on, and I'm really grateful for that. So
You hosted a wellness event last year. What was that experience like?
I loved it. I think we hosted that, was it last November now?
Yep.
And that was my first time ever hosting like a larger event. I was planning for more people, but I think it was another great learning experience. I call it business university for a reason. I believe like you don't necessarily have to go to business school to be successful in business. Like you can explore and try out different things. And I feel like for me, I just was like, you know what, I want to host a wellness event that would cater to the Greater Lansing area. We don't really have anything like that. We definitely have a lot of great networking groups, but my goal would be to continue this on and create more panels. I mean, Amara, you were on the panel talking about red light therapy. We had my dad on the panel. We had some awesome people talking about social media. I ended up emceeing the event. Again, shout out to the Coreys. They were like, you've got to MC your event that you put on. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I don't think I'm going to be able to do that, plus host the event. But I think I've since then had a lot of feedback and some people reach out and even saying, hey, like, let's build a team for the next thing that you decide to do. And so, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, well, there's a huge campground that's out in Mason, Dansville area. I happen to know the owner.
Oh,
so if you ever wanted to
do it outdoors, maybe?
do like they have cabins that people can stay in, but book in tent. If you ever want to do like an outdoors summer retreat, I know the spot. I know the guy.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Let's see. So, do you have any new events or collabs in the works? Excuse me.
Nothing super crazy as of right now. Like I said, I'll be 3 years now in business with Glow, and so I was looking to kind of host like a Glow and Gather event. Was the idea that I had kind of something maybe in my parking lot, because I do have a shared workspace concept as well, and so the space is always growing and there's more people coming in, and so right now I'm just like trying to figure out spacing and if the weather would be appropriate to have it in like our parking lot out front. But yeah, just kind of hosting people from the community. Once again, I like hosting people. It's a blast.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Glow and Gather, potentially more details to come on that. So
good to know.
Mm-hmm.
How important is community when it comes to wellness?
Ooh, I'm like, wait, let me think. Do you want to touch on this one? I don't know.
Community, that's your whole thing.
Yeah. That's true. When it comes to wellness,
yeah.
Like
when I think of somebody community and wellness, I think of you.
Aw, that's sweet. I think that's a good question. I would say, like, we weren't meant to live this life alone, and so I think there's so much beauty in vulnerability, and I think community does create vulnerability for a lot of people. Just to share, like, what are some hardships that you're facing in life, and I think that coming alongside of one another in community is so important to spur one another on in love and just love people that are closest to us. Like there's a Bible verse that talks about that, like love your neighbor as yourself. And I really believe that wholeheartedly, like coming along, and there's been so many opportunities even within my business, but outside of that in the community, where even my dad has had opportunities to just love on people and share his experience in wellness. And so I really look up to that, and I've gotten to see really cool stories come of that, healings, and people that were struggling that are now living an awesome free life. So I think community is really important in that way.
Let's bounce back to your dad's chiropractic business.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is your favorite modality that you guys have there that you offer?
Holy smokes.
What do we not have?
I know, right?
That's
My dad,
the biggest thing.
Gav is there with us too, and yeah, he has a plethora of services, but I would say one of my favorite therapies personally that I actually love is the lymphatic drainage plate. I think it's the buzzword right now. A lot of people are curious about lymphatic drainage, and this plate, you just turn it on for 5 to 10 minutes and just kind of immediately feel that like energy boost and just
of the
everything.
Vibration plate.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so yeah, I've been loving doing that. I think too, the red light therapy obviously is a huge one as well, targeting the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. And I feel like I love the red light therapy and probably the lymphatic drainage plate the best. But there's so many different therapies. We even have a soft wave, which is great for stem cell regeneration.
Ooh.
So regenerating the stem cells that you already have in the body, and just kind of activating those to promote healing. And so it's kind of a non-invasive way instead of doing the stem cell injections. So
You guys have like a PEMF mat, I believe.
we do pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. I'm sure you've probably shared that on here. But that basically, I love that for taking the body out of fight or flight and kind of putting it back into its rest and digest state. And so there's a bunch of different settings on the mat that we have. I mean, we can target, anywhere from your metabolic health to inflammation to scar tissue. I mean, whatever you wanted to target, really. So
Nice.
it's pretty neat.
I recently had this company called Biocharger. Well, I found them on Instagram. Somebody like shared one of their videos with me.
Yeah.
And they have this device. It looks like a giant Tesla coil, and it does like 4 things in one. That's why it's great, right? Anyway, so I just added them. They messaged me, and they have linked me up with a chiropractor in Jackson who has one.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna go and try it out, and yeah,
Cool.
I'm excited to see what this is about. It's only like $18,000.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I just stumbled across a new lymphatic drainage device now that 10X is using, and I'm really curious about it too. But it's something that you lay in, you kind of zip yourself up. It looks similar to like the Normatec sleeves and boots that you would wear. But instead of kind of the lymphatic drainage massage that people are doing, it's kind of like replacing that, which looks really high tech, and it's only $38,000. So
No big deal.
Right? Yeah, it's just simply, yeah, it's crazy. But people are going after it, and I mean, I think lymphatic drainage is huge. Like, I mean, it's all over our body, and even me, I feel so much better. I work with a therapist that does do lymphatic drainage massages on me, and I do feel a difference from that.
Yeah.
Even in like my stomach, but also like the lymphatic drainage plates. Yeah. So.
Let's do some joint questions. What's one wellness
Trying to
trend?
invite him in it already.
Speak. What's one wellness trend you think is overrated?
Ooh, I'm ready, but
Go. You're ready.
oh, wait. I was like, I'm ready. No, I'm not. I was about to say like non-wellness, but
We could do that too.
I was gonna say Ozempic.
Oh, yeah, that's more
Like,
fit for my
that
type
is
of
like
podcast.
like
Yes.
overrated, but I'm just like, there's so much more on the other side of it that I wish, like, we were just talking with some friends down at a wedding, and he was just saying that like people that are already like, I feel like people have body image issues, like that's a big thing right now, and they're injecting themselves with Ozempic when in reality there's so many natural like healing modalities now that people can target overall body health, reduce inflammation in the body naturally. And I'm even seeing that like in its form today.
Yeah.
A girl that's been with us now for 12 weeks that's lost 8 pounds, and she has no brain fog, and she just feels like way less, like even her flub feels like a lot like tighter on her stomach, and her skin health feels a lot tighter. I mean, Gavin probably has a lot more to say on this topic, but
anything that's like a fast fix like that, I mean, I understand the design of it, like people who are struggling with diabetes or have a serious health condition, but it's getting to the point now where people who are just overweight and like, not a good way to put it, but don't want to put in the effort, are looking for a fast, easy fix.
Yeah. And it's all going to come back.
These aren't designed for you to come off of it. So like, it's designed for you to consistently be on it the whole entire time. And so I've had a lot of people into office. I do also work at Gracie's father's office for like the wellness and the weight loss side of things. And yeah, they just come in because they're so frustrated about all the weight that they've gained back so fast once insurance has stopped covering the injections that they've been getting.
Yeah.
So
And it's a little bit of a moment of feeling low because they saw that results, and then it was kind of taken away from them so fast. It's a tough one.
And it's not targeting the root cause.
It's not, and it's also destroying your gut. There's a lot of research talking about how it's absolutely kind of tanking everybody's process to digest foods. I mean, I had a lady that came in here and she was like, I was on 7 whatever measurement unit they used to use it, but a heavy amount, and she's like, yeah, I literally wasn't pooping, like I wasn't using the bathroom. Well, that's not healthy. Like your gut's almost like your second brain, and what I mean by that is there's so much that goes on there. And so if you're not digesting food correctly, if you're not using food how it needs to be used and not processing everything correctly, I mean, there's going to be a lot of excuse Gracie.
That's the Ozempic.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of issues that are going to rise from that. And the quick fixes are, like I said, even when it comes to like cutting carbs out completely, you're going to lose weight really fast. But the moment you eat a carb back, you're going to gain the weight back just as fast as you lost it. So quick fixes are never really the way to go. And so that's a good trend. I would say it's big now. The other trend that I was thinking of is like a green supplement.
Okay.
Like the reason why I say that is because I see like the Bloom, not to like say like name brand or name drop anybody, but like all this stuff that's helped with your gut or help, like it just eat vegetables. Like honestly, like if that's eat real food. Like don't do a quick fix because it's easy. Like eat a whole food, eat some foods that are very helpful. And I feel like greens, it's maybe not as popular as it was, but there's a really big trend in there for greens for the longest time with digestion and things like that.
So I actually wrote my research paper, 20-page research paper I did on nicotine and venom in pharmaceuticals, which there's venom. Gila monster venom is what Ozempic is made from. And so it paralyzes the stomach. And I remember learning that if people need to get surgery and anesthesia, they tell them to stop taking that drug a week before the surgery, because if they don't, their stomach hasn't emptied in a week. That's how long food is just sitting in their stomach and rotting. So it just slows down. It basically like paralyzes it.
Yeah.
And then I remember learning that they get thyroid cancer. I personally know someone who got on it, and then I think like 3 months later he got his gallbladder removed, which is common. I've even heard reports of people on that for a year, they get off, and then for a year after they are throwing up for a year. And they can't stop. And yeah, it's not good. It's made from reptile venom, and it literally like paralyzes. Yeah. And then also it's binding to the nicotine receptors that we have in the body. And once you have a venom binded to those receptors, the nicotine receptors also play a role with your immune system with preventing cancer and cancer cells. So if that receptor is compromised, there goes your body's ability to protect you as well. Literally
the body's way of attacking, like helping you, is being inhibited from something that you just want a quick fix. Honestly.
Love the Ozempic. What's one wellness trend you actually love?
This is a tough one. This is a good one. Oh boy, let's think.
Besides counting macros and
literally.
I know. It's like all we're obsessed with.
I mean, the thing that's coming to mind that I would say would be creatine, but we already kind of touched on that.
It could be creatine again.
Yeah, I mean if you haven't got anything from this, but the importance of taking creatine is a really big one. It's definitely a big trend nowadays, and it's so awesome to see that. Like I said, it's by far the most studied supplement inside of the industry, by far. So it's very safe to take. And if you want to go more in depth on that, how it works scientifically is basically ATP is how we like get our energy or cellular energy. So if you're repping out like weights or doing any type of movement, it takes ATP. Well, I don't know the exact the scientific term of it, but basically when that's used up, it releases a byproduct that we can't use anymore for energy. This creatine is going to connect to that and turn it back into ATP that you can use. So you have more reps in the tank, you have more energy. And that's where like you can tell a difference. When I'm not off on creatine, I'm like, I feel weaker. That makes sense. Like you feel stronger. And then not even to touch on that, but all of the brain and all the benefits you talked about earlier with brain fog and reduction and things like that. That's a very big trend that is trending upwards, rightfully so. So that's what I would say. What's your trend?
I guess it's more my personal trend. So I don't know necessarily if it's a trend right now, but I think it is something that's becoming like people are becoming more aware of and to do this. But I would just say, honestly, rest. I have been such a go, go, go for so long, and I think America is really conditioned to that. But I actually went for a period of time overseas in Europe, and that was one thing about their culture that I really do love is like people will sit and have coffee and just chat with each other for a while and it not be rushed. And like, I'm on to my next meeting and I gotta go and I gotta go. Like, for me, it's been a lot of like rest, but that, might not necessarily be more sleep because maybe I only have a certain amount of hours in a day, but just being more conscious of, okay, driving a little bit slower, like not road raging to get to work, or just coming at things with more of a calm approach. And then also journaling out my thoughts before the day starts, whether that's just processing it out with the Lord or just on my own time and just kind of talking about different things. But I think journaling is also a really important thing. So I'd say rest and journaling.
Well, that kind of ties into my last question was, how do you both personally stay balanced and avoid burnout? And that kind of explains it.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. But there was a season where I was in like serious burnout, and I think that kind of hit me like more in this last year, and those were a couple of the tools that for sure I added to my toolkit. And Gavin's really good on this too, but I think a huge part of even, wellness and your fitness journey too comes with a lot of like the mind too, like tame the body, tame the mind. Like you have to do both. And so he's actually been a huge advocate in my life to really look back at the events that like I have, like big things that have happened to me, whether that's trauma or, relationships or whatever, to really process those out. Because if you don't, our body does take toll and remembers those things and definitely catches up with you at one point in time. And I think that's like where it really hit me was last year. I had my first panic attack, and then have now kind of been struggling with some anxiety ever since then. And it's been a really difficult journey for me, but I've been able to learn a lot of great tools along the way. And I've invited a lot of people, Amara, Gavin, there's so many other people, counselors, my parents, and different doctors and stuff that have helped and have come alongside of me to say, hey, here are some things that, we see that could definitely help you with burnout and just get you on a path to healing and wholeness in that way. So
don't mind me over here just having some asthma attack from my toxic hairspray that I chose to use today.
That's so funny.
Burnout is a very tough thing. So when I was in school for engineering, and I was also working a general contracting construction job, and I was still working out 2 hours a day after all of that, that was something I definitely fell a victim to all the time, was burnt out. And so my biggest advice for anybody with burnout, and it might not be applicable to everybody, but for an example, when it comes to what I do now, as a living, being that professional coach and helping people, like that is such my passion that it does not feel like work whenever I'm there. So I don't really get burnt out, if I'm being honest. But there are some things that can be burnt out, maybe about a lot of mundane tasks and behind the scenes that involved with having a business and operating a business. And yeah, this might seem a little funny, but for me, like maybe it's the generation I grew up in and, having all the screens, but it's like setting that time for me. Maybe it's like the 30 minutes that I take to eat, to just sit down, do nothing, look at my phone, watch like a video or a show, and just kind of have my me time to be able to kind of distract myself in a good way from all the overactive brain thoughts or all the things I could be stressing out or thinking about. That really does help me, is just taking like that little time to myself and also doing it while eating, so I kind of, knock out two birds with one stone per se. I think it's really huge, but just be careful, because if you're doing like the doom scrolling and the short form content, you get stuck pretty for a long time. And that's not at all what I'm saying to do. But just like maybe the time that your 30 minutes in a day to just like sit. Maybe your thing is like journaling for Gracie. Maybe it's just doing breath work. Maybe it's going on a walk or something that just kind of keeps your brain thoughts kind of at a minimum or kind of quieted for a little bit.
I love that. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah,
thanks for having us. Have you guys back in the future.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be really cool. This is a really awesome experience to be able to